It's the 20th of February 2018. A very good morning and welcome to NewDay, coming to you live from the news app here at Diaspora. My name is George Quinn, but let's start off with the news. Thanks for staying. We start off with the health sector, where the 2016 batch of government-trained nurses besieged the health ministry, demanding posting to various health centers. They were aggrieved privately trained nurses who are going through verification to be employed while they have not been considered.
These aggrieved nurses form part of the 9,905 government-trained nurses of the 2016 batch. Though not bonded, these trainee nurses are expecting postings from government, even though they could search for jobs. They claim to have been home for the past 15 months after completing school.
It's very pathetic. We the government nurses, up to now, the exorbitant fees that we paid in schools, and up to now, the food, everything that we had to the bustle and hassle that we need to pass through the institutions till now. And as to now, you still not posted us, and you tell us, comparing us to your private nurses, telling us we are the same. I want to ask a question. If you as a father, you have not paid that of your son's school fees, how do you go and pay that of people's sons for them?
They are a combination of preventive and nurse assistant for the clinical unit. The trainee nurses who completed their studies in 2016 said several meetings with the health minister with the view to address their concerns have been to no avail. They intend pitching camp at the ministries and will not leave until their concerns are addressed.
I've stayed in the house for 2 years. We're getting to 2 years. 2 good years, no postings. If money to buy food is a problem. Always have to ask your mother. You have to ask your father. It's affecting our social status. As a nurse, you go to a professional school, complete, pass your exams, and then you are still in the house for this long time. In fact, it's affecting the whole society, the whole nation, not only us as a person.
Their protest distracted the rather peaceful verification privately trained nurses, which was underway at the same premises.
Some of us, we've been in the house for about 5 good years or 6 years or 3 years. But now that we had opportunity that the forms are in for private nurses only. So we just have to fill them and submit. And the forms are not for sale.
The privately trained nurses comprise the 2012 to 2016 batches. TV3, Kwabna Edu Jenfi.
We're bringing you live shots from TV3, where some of these nurses, have besieged TV3 just to demand, posting from government. But still in the health sector, and Battle Director of the Ankara Psychiatric Hospital, Dr. Eugene Doyle, has been given 1 week to hand over to his would-be successor. The aggrieved nurses have accepted the new roadmap negotiated by the Deputy Minister of Health, Tina Mensah. This will bring to an end almost a year-long battle between the nurses and the director, whose tenure has been described as abusive and unconducive, actually.
The nurses, in their latest release in month of battle between them and their director, alleged the administrator had put them through emotional and psychological stress. The nurses and physician assistants then on February 14 stayed away from work to press home their demand for Dr. Doyle to be removed, citing mismanagement and gross disrespect. The workers failed to honor a meeting scheduled by the health ministry to resolve their grievances. Then, Public Relations Officer of the Sector Ministry, Robert Kujo, said the director had been removed from office. The ministry said this was to help promote serene industrial climate. However, the aggrieved workers said the word of the ministry was not enough evidence in the absence of a document to back. As such, the Deputy Minister of Health, Tina Mensah, led a delegation from Accra to the Central Region to calm the muddy waters. Her new roadmap will have the director roll out after a week. This seems to have gone down well with the workers. For those who have held the view that Dr. Doyle was a victim of a corrupt system who was trying to rid of the bad, they will be looking on as to what the Ministry of Health will do in the absence of a successor.
As I brought you that report earlier, some aggrieved nurses have besieged TV3 demanding postings from government. My colleague Anthony Jackson is at the TV3 premises and is bringing us a live update.
All right, I'm currently here with a 2016 batch of government-trained nurses, aggrieved nurses, and yesterday they picketed at the Ministry of Health because private trained nurses were going through verification process and they felt they were being ignored. So I'm going to be speaking to one of them because last night they were supposed to spend the night at the Ministry of Health to continue their picketing today, but they moved to TV3. So we're going to find why they are here and what's the next step for them. So Haruna, I'm speaking with Haruna. What happened last night?
Oh, actually, thank you very much. What happened yesterday night was that yesterday in the morning we went to the ministry demanding for our clearance for posting. But when we went there in the morning, we stood there in the morning until yesterday in the evening around 9:30. None of the ministers or the deputy ministers came out to talk to us. In the afternoon around 11:30, they called the leadership upstairs that they want to talk to us. And when we went upstairs, what they told us was that we should go home and then come in a week's time to see the improvement so far what I've gone through. And we didn't want to believe that, so we wanted them to come down and tell us themselves, because we wanted to have an audio recording or a written document. We wanted to hear it from them themselves. But
so if you were called upstairs and the ministry gave you the assurance that next week they would call you back and verify you of a sort. So is it that you don't take their word for granted? Has it happened before whereby they've given you their word and they didn't fulfill it?
Yes, we didn't want to believe that because they keep on telling us the same story. Yesterday wasn't the first time of coming there. We've been there last year, and even last week too, we came there. They told us the same story. So when yesterday we came and they told the leadership that, we didn't want to believe that. So we wanted themselves to come and tell us. And we stood there. Nobody came. The policemen were there. The media people were there. They were all eyewitnesses. And they heard what they told us. But nobody came out. So later on in the evening, we were there. The minister himself came. When the minister came, he didn't even look at us. Then he went upstairs. We were standing there waiting for him to come, at least to come and address us. But nothing like that went on. Around 8, then the regional commander of police, he came there, threatening us to leave the premises within an hour. Most of us don't stay in Accra here. Some of us are coming from Boko, some are coming from Tamale, some are coming from Kumasi.
But the issue was your picketing was an illegality, wasn't it?
That is what they are claiming that it to be, but we don't see it as such. Because before picketing yesterday, we notified them. We issued a press release that we are coming here. We even wrote a letter to the police commander, but we didn't receive any feedback. So that didn't even stop us from coming because we know it's our word that we are fighting for. So yesterday, the police commander told us that we are unwanted criminals, we are unwanted guests, that we are picketing at the ministry. So they can just do anything to us. So they are giving us, within an hour, we should all leave the premises. Which is unfair. At least you, the police commander, when the minister was there, you could have even talked to the minister to come out and tell us something. But you did nothing like that. You let the minister descend them, enter the car, and they drove away without saying any word to us.
Right. So it's morning now. What's the next step for you?
Well, now, thank God we are alive this morning. So we are organizing ourselves. We are going there this morning again. We are all meeting at Afro Sunderland Park. That is our meeting park. Most of our colleagues will be meeting out there. So we are going there this morning again.
You're going back to the Ministry of Health?
Yes, we're going to
where you were driven from yesterday?
Yes.
The police claimed that your presence there yesterday was an illegality and they drove you out and you're going back there again.
It is not illegal. Our parents is not illegal. We are demanding for fair. We are not there to demonstrate. We've not destroyed anything. They are aware of our presence. If they are not aware of our presence, they wouldn't have called the leadership upset and talk to us. They know why we are there. So they should come out and address our demands for us. Else we are not living there.
Right, so I've been speaking to a member of the aggrieved government-trained nurses. All they want is a word from the Minister of Health, giving them assurance of their posting. My name is Anthony Jackson. Back to you in the studio.
Is it a crime to be a nurse? As you saw on the placard of one of the nurses, it tells you they are not really happy about 10 of event, and we hope government intervenes swiftly, and as we always do, keep you posted in subsequent bulletins. Let's move to other news, where the Criminal Division of the Accra High Court has ordered the release of the Achimota Senior High School student who shot and killed his girlfriend last year and was sentenced to 3 years in a correctional home. The court held that the trial exceeded the 6 months as stipulated in the Juvenile Act, while the trial judge erred in ordering for a social inquiry report after handing sentence despite required law to do so.
According to the presiding judge, Justice Kofi Dogu, the trial of the accused also exceeded the 6 months duration as stipulated in the Juvenile Act. The student is reported to have brought out his father's gun under a bed with the intent of shooting in the air, but ended up killing his friend Lily Donko, who was also a third-year student of the same school. A juvenile court presided over by Bernardine S.A. Suno found the then 17-year-old guilty of manslaughter. His lawyers in November 2017 filed an appeal at the High Court arguing the sentence was harsh. They also claimed the trial judge lacked jurisdiction to hear the matter per the Section 24 and 33 of the Juvenile Justice Act. Section 24 states that where a juvenile is charged with an offence, the juvenile court shall order a social inquiry report to be submitted to the court, which shall be taken into account by the court in the making of an order, while Section 33 states that the case of a juvenile charged with an offence before a juvenile court shall be dealt with expeditiously, and if the case is not completed within 6 months of the juvenile's first appearance in court, the juvenile shall be discharged and is not liable for any further proceedings in respect of the same offence. The lawyers prayed the court to set aside the decision of the lower court. Delivering his judgment, Justice Kofi Dogu said the action of the juvenile court judge in ordering for the special inquiry report after sentencing amounted to a miscarriage of justice. He added the trial exceeded the mandated duration, therefore set aside the decision and ordered a discharge of the student.
Still in court, the judge hearing the case in which Aisha Huang and some other 4 Chinese nationals are standing trial for allegedly engaging in illegal mining has sent a stern warning to the parties in the case, insisting he will not countenance any delay. This follows the absence of one of the accused persons, Lu Ju, which compelled the judge to adjourn the case.
According to Aisha Wan, Lu Kiju was taken ill on February 17 and subsequently sent to the hospital for medical attention. Justice Charles Ekobaden, who was not enthused by the reasons provided, further ordered the accused person, Lu Kiju, to file a medical report from a recognized government hospital to prove he was indeed ill before February 26. He said he would not countenance any delays from both prosecution and defense, as it is in their own interest for justice to be dispensed expeditiously. He therefore adjourned the case to February 26 and 27 for cross-examination to continue. Aisha Huan and her compatriot were arraigned on May 9 last year for engaging in illegal small-scale mining activities at Bipotintin in the Amansia Central District of the Ashanti region. She was charged with 3 counts of undertaking small-scale mining operations contrary to Section 99(1) of the Minerals and Mining Act 2006 Act 703 and providing mining support services without valid registration. The 4 other Chinese, Guo Jingqing, Lu Qiju, Hai Bingao and Zhang Zinping, have been charged with disobedience to directives given under the Immigration Act 2000, Act 573.
Away from the court, let's shift to the labour front, where the Volta Regional Industrial and Commercial Workers Union has backed calls to resist any deduction from their salaries in support of the National Health Insurance Scheme. The Deputy General Secretary in charge of operations, Morgan Ayawini, at a media encounter said, unless proper consultations are done, no one dare touch a penny from their earnings.
Was instituted some 14 years ago after wide consultations and piloting. However, the scheme has remained bedeviled with a myriad of challenges that continue to affect effective implementation. Notable among these challenges are alleged mismanagement and abuse of funds. Services have dipped over the years contrary to the increasing volume of contributions. 2.5% of workers' net contributions go directly into the scheme, yet government is proposing a further 1% deduction. This, the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union ICU observed cannot be done without their consent.
We are not in any way against any system to give us a very good health delivery system. But then we are saying that you must look at where to pick the money from. We have the endowment fund there. We have the heritage fund. And they are saying that they want to use it for free education. If you are not healthy, can you go to school? So they must prioritize say that you give people good health, then after that they can go to school.
The Deputy General Secretary in charge of operations, Morgan Ayawini, outlined reasons why the over 80,000 members must resist the attempt.
It's actually bad for the government to consider deducting an additional 1% as levy towards the NHIS scheme. To be honest, they have made a lot of promises which we hardly find fulfilled, and so they should look for other alternatives in resolving this issue, because Ghanaian workers have suffered, and this will put a lot of burden on the Ghanaian workers. I think they should reconsider that decision.
And President Akufo-Addo has tasked parties in the Togolese political crisis to put the interests of their nation first in ensuring a lasting solution to the impasse. President Akufo-Addo is in Togo to mediate the political unrest between President Faure Gnassingbé and the opposition coalition.
The dialogue was part of a 6-month-long effort attending series of protests which have claimed several lives. The meeting of key political protagonists in the ongoing unrest is expected to chart a credible path for the political future of the French West African colony. At the opening session of the dialogue, President Akufo-Addo charged the political leadership of the country to put the interest of the nation first.
It's important that it is this forum and that it is this dialogue that will determine the future of this country. And it is important that it is the Togolese themselves, and not any outside forces, that will determine the future of your country. It's extremely important for all of us to recognize that the destinies of our nations are in our own hands, and that therefore whatever emerges out of this dialogue represents the solutions that the Togolese people are looking for. What therefore is required of us on this occasion? It is that for all those who are assembled here recognize that in a dialogue, the spirit of accommodation, the spirit of compromise has to be at the very forefront of the preoccupations of everyone. Why? Because the national interest of Togo demands it. And that has to be the overriding concern of everybody who will be participants in this dialogue, the national interest of the people of Togo.
The President Facilitation Team included the Minister for National Security, Albert Kandapa, Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs, Charles Oredu, Ghana's Ambassador to Togo, Kwesi Osu-Yaboa, Ambassador at Large, Dr. Edward Mahama, former Secretary to President Kufuor, An experienced retired diplomat, DK Osei.
It's important for the self-respect of the Togolese people that their leaders are seen to be capable of arriving at solutions that will advance the interests of the people of this country. And my job, and the job of the facilitation team that has come from my country, is to assist in that process, to help in that process. I don't have a position in this matter. Despite all the links between us, I am not a Togolese, and therefore I cannot have a position in this matter. I can only assist in bringing about, hopefully, a durable solution to the problems of your country.
It will be the first formal dialogue between the members of the 14 opposition parties and the incumbent president.
Still on the presidency, the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, has called on members of the diaspora to invest in developing human capital to foster growth and development on the African continent. Dr. Bawumia believes developing human capital will reduce over-reliance on foreign donors and their support for the African continent. He was speaking at the 150th anniversary celebration and wreath-laying ceremony for the late Dr. William Edward Baghdad Dubois in Accra.
Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia recalled the immeasurable role of the late civil rights activist Dr. William Du Bois to Africa's liberation. He emphasized on his sound ideals and doctrines to sowing the seeds of Africa's emancipation during his time and era. Dr. Bawumia was elated at the fact that the late historian and sociologist mentored the late Dr. Kwame Nkrumah prior to launching and during Ghana's independence struggle. He pledged government's strong commitment to emulating his ideals to move Ghana beyond aid.
We have to think ahead. We don't just want people, we want quality human capital. And that's why our education systems have to be ramped up. And we have to link with the human capital that we already have in the diaspora.
He again called on those in the diaspora to invest in human capital to make the African continent a success.
The research is very clear that the single most important factor is not natural resources, the gold, oil, and all that, but the single most important factor for the development and the progress of nations is your human capital.
Minister of Tourism and Creative Arts, Katrina Feku, urged others in the diaspora to return home and assist in national development.
I'm sending this message through the Black Caucus that is here. This should not be an issue. This should not be a problem. We tell our young ones growing up, see the continent, touch the continent, demystify the stories that you see on television on the other side. Come home.
The daughter of the late Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Samia Yaba Nkrumah, called for the strengthening of African unity.
Africans in the US, in Australia, in Latin America, in Europe, all over the world. Africa is one and indivisible, and Africans are one.
The great-grandson of the late W.E.B. Du Bois called for unity among African Americans.
That's what I would give you from him. Locking arms with the people who can take you forward. Locking arms with your friends, with the people who you know have meaning in your life.
Other speakers at the anniversary celebration praised government for setting up a diasporan desk at the presidency. Later, the vice president laid a wreath on behalf of government, and the American ambassador Robert Jackson laid one on behalf of the U.S. government. A great-grandson of W.B. Du Bois, Arthur McFarlane, also laid a wreath on behalf of the Du Bois family. The Minister of Tourism, Katrina Feku, also laid a wreath on behalf of government.
You're a fingertip away from all our latest news updates. All you need to do is just go onto the Google Play Store and download our 3 News app. But that's it by way of news this morning on New Day. I'm Josh Quinning, and now hand over to the guys here.
Hi, Mr. Josh Quinning. Good morning to you. How you doing? I like your rish.
Is there a crime to be a nurse, guys?
No,
it's certainly not a crime.
It's not a crime.
To be a health professional, because all you're trying to do is help people manage their health, live well, and also save lives. So certainly, it shouldn't be anyone.
But the matter is within the context. I mean, if you're trained and you stay home for 2 years, it is just like having committed a crime to go into nursing.
Exactly, but it shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be, and so we hope that government will look at that situation immediately.
But you see, what I find strange is that there are. What is really the problem? Is it that government doesn't have what it takes to pay the nurses, or the spaces are not, the vacancies are not there? What is
I will think the vacancies are there because the private nurses are being taken on. And so definitely we do know there's vacancy. And so that question has to be addressed to the ministry to answer exactly what it is. Because for you, even if it was for you to actually put someone on a group of people on hold but accept another group to go through the verification process means you have what it takes to actually put them through the system.
I think that we've been doing this charade for a very long time. These are 2016 nurses. I remember back in the day, some 2013 nurses were also employed ahead of 2015, 2016. So we've been doing this charade for a long time. If I completed, you know, nursing training school by 2013 and you're employing the next year, who should you employ? The 2013 or the 2015 person? So we brought this upon ourselves, and I think it's quite unfortunate. And I know some of them personally who have been borrowing monies. You know, they borrow to pay, borrow to spend, and then borrow to pay back and borrow. So they are living on borrowed life, and this is not. It's
very disappointing, particularly when you know how everyone plans for your life, and so at this particular point when you're in school, your parents will take the responsibility of taking care of you. But when you finish and everyone knows you're supposed to start working, they're expecting that, say, in a few months you'll be making your own money, taking care of yourself, and probably helping even the family.
Absolutely.
But here you come back and you have to depend on these people who seemingly in their minds have not planned for you.
Not at all.
I have been in that situation, and so I certainly know
what that is about. Anytime they want to sleep wherever the pickets, I've never believed it until yesterday. Because when I was leaving at 10 yesterday, they were there.
No,
this morning
they've always done that. They've done that. The teachers have done that before. And they picket. When they sleep there, when they say they want to sleep there. The point is this, that if we as a country, and the danger is that when you bond people not to go anywhere because you have supported their education, and they can't find jobs elsewhere, and you refuse to employ them, what do you expect them to do?
If 2016 batch is picketing, it means that we can conclude that very soon we'll have another group 2017 joining. By the middle of the year.
I think the ministry picks and chooses. You might
sorted. But you see, I remember that when the Minister for Health, Dr. Mr. Honorable Kweko Ajimamenu took office, he had put a hold on all those employments and said that they were looking at their documentation to give them clearance and all of that. That was then when they took over power in 2017. I have not heard any new development from that. The last we heard was that private nurses were being picked, and that these nurses were no longer going to be bonded. Okay, so what happened to those who have already been bonded? What happened to them? Because and by the story that Senior Bride brought from the north, health professionals are urgently needed. Urgently needed everywhere. I mean, you go to Kolibu, for example.
Are they willing to go there? Are they willing to go to?
No, it's not about willing. You are calling for a job, so we should. This should be a great opportunity for us as a nation to decide that, well, there's Bumpurugu Yoyo, there's a hospital there, there's nobody there. Put them there. There's a health facility, a chip compound. Put them there, because they are public health nurses. They are registered general nurses. Put them there. Distribute them around.
Anyway, guys, it's time to do newspaper headlines. Let's start off with Daily Statement, but we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll continue with news headlines. Stay with us here on New Day. So to the Daily Statement, it says House approves Amidu today for position of special prosecutor Also, a government group, commends government for shutting down desalination project. Then the president is urging Togo's politicians to put the people's interest first. And then finally, Vice President also says reconnecting Africa diaspora is the key to accelerated development. Guys, that's what
can we say better late than never in the Togo issue? I remember when it broke first, we had called on the president to tell him that, look, you must do something about it, because, and the same issues we raised, as in Togo being our closest, neighbor to the east and all, have come to play at this point. I hope that this deliberation or these deliberations will actually bring some finality to this issue, because it is not good at all. And I like the fact that the opposition parties have all come to the table to have a conversation, rather than the war thing. Because in the past few months, the lives that have been lost in Togo and those who have been hurt as well is nothing to write home about. It's not good news at all. It doesn't speak well of us, the people of Africa. And kudos to the president for taking this step. Better late than never.
Let's hope the parties in the conflict or the confusion would not take entrenched positions. I mean, at this point, the signals are very clear that the people feel the Yadima dynasty would have to give way to something else. But how to arrive at the processes leading to his exit and who comes in is where the challenge is. I wish Togolese would be able to go through a clean, fair and free elections to decide who sits in. But and I'm wondering if the opposition is even ready to allow that, because they think that that country can never have free and fair elections. So let's hope that the president's intervention would see the two sides agree to have a way out, because honestly, I do not see how Mr. Ford will quickly want to get up and leave the seat. Politicians.
Yes, Yaya Jammeh is a recent example.
Yes, and I also do not see how the opposition can agree to let Mr. Ford stay in power for I don't know how long. But so it's really
well, the agitation is that Mr. Yadima and his father have had close to half a century, and they think that, well, they must go now. So the agitation is that they must go now.
But the point then is, how do you
do the swap, especially knowing that there's a constitutionally elected government?
Right.
That's so. Should we allow it to run out and then have a fresh election without Mr. Nyasiwe contesting?
Right.
Okay.
That's where the problem is, coming to middle grounds to say, okay, even though your term is not over, I accept that I'm doing A, B, C, D, which the people are not happy with, and so I'm ready to exit. But you and I know how African leaders often tend to be. In this position where he feels, oh, you gave me a mandate, let me actually finish, and then I will exit, as we usually see. But for one, I'm just thinking, at this point in time when you've reigned for this long, and people... I mean, in past times, you haven't had this much agitation. But if now it's so heightened, you yourself will not even have the peace of mind to actually govern a country in this state. So I think, above all, they should really consider the people and come to something amicable, even if it means him having, maybe they sharing power up until the tenure actually ends. I mean, something that would just benefit everybody as a whole, and then move on. And I believe our president is in a good position to actually give them this advice, because we've seen them agree or to disagree. When we had the election petition going through, we saw the processes that led to, and eventually the president became president. He's happy reigning, and so at least they should have that kind of conversation.
Coupled with that, his weight on the ECOWAS enclave, it gives him a lot of clout. But see, the Ghans have a proverb, and it emanates from you find somebody who is carrying a load, heavy load, and you want to help him. He says, no, I can't do it. They have a proverb that says, manye manye egwe obulu. Too much or needless or excess bravado kills the fool. And I think that, look, if at this point the people who you want to serve say, we're tired of you, can you go? You go. I mean, even the good old Mugabe is gone. Even the good old Mugabe.
After pressure.
Yes. After pressure, Yaya Jammeh is gone. Jacob Zuma is gone. Mr. Foreign Simba, what are you waiting for? That's the point. Because if you say you are serving the people, and they are out in the streets throwing things at each other, harming, maiming themselves, killing themselves, who are you serving? If everybody dies, who would you be serving?
Exactly, and that's what
let's hope. I'm hoping that the people around Mr. Nyasingbe are letting him see the pictures. Look, in Africa, a lot of things happen that the politician who is sitting there isn't aware. I mean, they are almost always not told the truth. Look, I was listening to Dr. Bafwa Jimanduya, who had earlier worked with the UN in Liberia and other places. And he said that he had a conversation with the former Liberian leader, Amos Sawyer.
Right.
And where he was trying to find out why is it that politicians, when they see that their back is against the wall, will simply not give up. And he said he was surprised at what Dr. Amos Sawyer told him. He said, look, when you are in power, the pampering alone is enough to keep you in there even when the guns are flying, bullets are flying left and right. You are being pampered. You are not, look, sometimes he said they can even stop you from watching what is happening in your own country. The people around you will stop you from seeing the protesters on the street. So the picture is painted as if everything is fine.
But it is not.
But it is not. Oblivious of what the reality
so
is.
Let's hope that the people around him are letting him see what is happening, and he will be able to, based on that, take a decision.
I think that most of the time, the people we elect to manage our affairs turn up to want to lord it over us and take over and want to feel all the comfort. And that's why people will always fall for the Nkrumahs and the Gaddafis and the Castros, because they think that they feel their pain and they relate to them properly. Right. The politician of today would rather have a convoy of 10, 12 vehicles when children at, for example, Kolebu are lying on the bare floor. They don't care. I mean, when they know that if they sell off one V8 at, say, $90,000, they'll be able to get a few more beds and a facility that can take care of the children. Right. The politician of today doesn't care.
They're safety first.
Well, let's touch on a story on the Finder as well. It says, affordable housing not feasible. That's coming from Greta Vice President, who blames situation on state institutions, and then many other stories. But I tend to agree with that comment, that affordable housing really is not feasible, because, Johnny, you and I know that in a country where they actually practice the right kind of affordable housing, even the menial person, the person on the street out there not doing any job at all, can even afford it. Yeah. But in Ghana, where all the cost is on the estate developer, buying the land, making sure the road is done, making sure electricity gets the water, all that cost will lead them to increase the prices. And the regular person then cannot afford it. So what system do we talk about when we say affordable housing?
This I asked the Honorable Atacha this question when the State of the Nation address was read. And he told me that Plaza Fire Advance, they have gotten some contracts. And I put this question to him. I said, look, we've been talking about affordable housing for God knows how long. Before I entered secondary school and after secondary school. And we're still talking about it. Today, rent is much more expensive than how much the average young person earns. So we are going nowhere with this. And so we find people sleeping along with people, and some getting married or inhabiting with people against their will, because they have nowhere to lay their heads. So they get pregnant, just because they need a shelter of their heads. And it is not fair to think that it is a social protection issue is a great matter. I find it even more hilarious when Smith says they are building affordable houses for all of us. They take our contribution to build affordable houses, and those of us who contribute, we can't afford it. Does it make sense? Those of us who pay SLIT, they take our money, they lump it all together and want to put up affordable housing. When they are done with it, we, those who contributed to build the thing, we can't afford it.
So what really is it affordable for?
Who is the affordable? Because the minimum wage is some 10 cedis, maybe 11 cedis, as we speak. Okay, so if that means I'm earning 30 Ghana cedis on the average, 300 Ghana cedis on the average, if I do the calculation by 12 months, am I able to afford a decent accommodation, a single room to live in? It doesn't add up. So whoever does the mathematics is not doing it well. Maybe they failed their mathematics in school, or they just know the answer and they are using a different method that we are not aware of.
State institutions should really look at it so that they can take away some of the burden on these estate developers. Because if the state actually couches them by taking electricity, roads, all those off, maybe the actual building will be affordable for the regular
But you see, in that conversation, the businessman is in the thing to make money. So if the affordable housing policy is supposed to be a social intervention, like in socialist countries, let's look at what they do. If you go to Libya, if I have a blue shirt, Bright has a blue shirt, we can all go to the shop to get it, given that we are subscribing to the thing, and it is affordable to all of us. So I don't buy the idea. Look, the last affordable houses that were put up around the cantonments area and the rest, who got them?
Yeah, they were.
Who bought the houses?
But how?
Who bought the houses? Those houses there. Tell me which single civil servant and which single teacher was able to afford any of those houses.
How were they done?
Can you imagine?
Okay, that under a champion and Dr. Nkrumah, we managed some real affordable houses. What was the situation? How was it done? I'm sure there are documents there for current leaders
I will let credence to it. You see, my maternal grandfather, they have a home at Kanishi in the Kanishi estate.
Yes.
He didn't earn so much. I think it was a corporal in the army back in the day, but he was able to buy a house. Yes. So I asked my mother how they did it, and my mother said, "Look, once they had guaranteed employment and they had money coming in, no matter how little, they gave you the house, they registered it in your name, and they did the deduction. So it was high purchase. So if you're earning 300 Ghana, they decided at the end of every month we'll take 100 or 660 cedis.
And it worked.
So it doesn't matter the number of years, but they will still take it because they need you to be comfortable.
I'm saying that our current leaders should just go back to those documents. A champion did it. Like what Johnny said, all the areas around Kanishi, I think they call it Fell in your estate.
Yes. Around the Kolebu Zoti area.
They were all houses built by past leaders with the same affordable thing, and it worked. So if it is not working now, then I guess they will just have to go back and take those documents. I guess
enough of housing. Let's rant now. And Professor Raymond Atuguba has released his research on the judges and other sectors of our nation, and it's received a lot of flack out there. Let's go with George onto the street, find out what the public think about this particular research.
The Chief Justice Sophia Kufu and some revered justices of the Supreme Court have publicly expressed their displeasure about a Professor Raymond Atuguba research that sought to, establish the political leanings of judges of the Apex Court. And the research further went to reveal that the voting pattern of these judges was influenced by the political party that appointed them. My friend Kwame will tell you the judiciary is acting like they are above criticisms. But what do you make of this research and even the posture given by the judiciary? This is Daily Rant. Let's keep talking.
I did a friend with research, one can say with the researcher. We'll be in Quatana baby Kakanya BBO. And that man called Atuguba. If you check his background, it's not just a layman, it's a professor of law. Yes, there is bias. I strongly believe so. Because somebody appoints you or political parties. Through somebody, you are able to become a justice or the judge. And if there is a decision to, vote or to do something, you can do something contrary to the man who put you.
Let's say you are assuming, or it's where it is. You are assuming, right?
I am not assuming, I know. I am not.
Are you a lawyer?
Oh, am I supposed to be a lawyer before I know the fact?
Okay, I'll say
no, I'm coming.
Most of them
If you are sick, so you can't tell a doctor, that doctor, I feel pains here. You're supposed to be a lawyer before you tell the.
I say more about hearsays.
Hearsay. It is not true. In Ghana here, there is a saying: everything is corrupt. Ghana, we Ghanaians, you see, the custom is very corrupt. Ask me why.
Okay, why?
Okay, starting even from the football pitches, the referees. There is a saying that will be our part there, somebody made arrest, like a policeman, somebody is handling the case. There will be a call from above. Hello. That person is my this and that and so. That is wickedness.
I struggle to balance it. How would you defend it?
Master, I'm coming. Let me put
how would you defend it?
Excuse me.
I say I support party XYZ.
Okay.
And then my president is in office. And then I happen to offend the law. then I'm taken to court. How is the Supreme Court judge going to defend me? On what grounds? While the law states clearly that when you are caught offending, this is your punishment.
You see, I don't know, maybe you don't have that kind of lens. Somebody has stolen a goat.
Yes.
Or mere plantain or wrapping, mango. They put in jail for 10 years. And somebody, example like Woyome, he has the billions of what? Is it dollars or cedis?
Yes, 51 million.
As I speak, now, nothing has been done much. It's because there is politics. Yes, politics behind.
But MPP is in power now. Why don't they arrest him?
Oh, it's because MPP has a share, NDC has a share. Who arrests him?
But he sampled 100 political cases.
Okay.
And so that's how he deduces, let's say, his evidence and all that.
On this issue, what I have understood about all this issue is that, in fact, I do not even understand the hula baloo surrounding all these things. Of course, we've not get the opportunity also to read the full detailed report, but we should assume that we believe that Professor Raymond Atuguba wouldn't just use a mere academic findings and come out to tell us this is the feedback. The point actually is, it is a fact that every justices of the Supreme Court surely have a judicial philosophy. Surely have a judicial philosophy. And of course, every president who appoints a justice of the Supreme Court also will at least have effect. The philosophy of the justice will have impact on the decision that the president will make. And so it is obvious that definitely when the president make an appointment, as far as justices of the Supreme Court is concerned, there is some kind of iota of shared philosophy in it.
The appointed stands to neutrality. So does that mean that no one on earth can be neutral?
Ghana. When you go to when you go to Francophone countries, it's not like that. I'm telling you, when you go to Francophone countries, when the law caught you, it cuts you. There is no way. When they get you, the law grabs you, you are dead and you are gone. They will deal with you. But in Ghana here, everybody have uncle, nephew, cousin. That is why the constitution needs to be amended.
In fact, the sample size, it was 100% political cases. And in fact, cases like, even the political, when we say the political cases were even the definition of a political case was even narrowed to a situation where there may be the name of a political party in the seats. And so it may be like MPP versus GBC. It may be like, or any other case that have a personality who we know that of a political party representing. Something like Chachuchi Kata versus the Attorney General. Something like that. These are some of the cases. And in fact, he didn't use just a mere sample size. Almost 100% return of political cases.
The man is right.
As far as 25 years ago.
The man is...
You see, from 25 years, all the cases from to 2008, almost 25, more than 25 years now. And you see, looking at it, all the political cases that has, that has turned up during this, during this 25 years tenure, is the basis he used for his research. And he has come out to tell us, yes, definitely, many of the judicial cases, many of the justices of the Supreme Court always align with the president, with the the appointing authority, the government that appointed them to the board.
One person that matters in this is the Chief Justice.
Is the Chief Justice,
and she's out that it's alien to the country.
You see, the judicial judge.
Who says so?
Hold on.
Because he's also alien to the job. Sofia Akubu is alien to the job. When did she appointed? No, you say Akufu.
No, it's okay.
Oh, Akufu is the name. I know the woman very well even before she becomes a
but that's alien.
What is alien? What is the word alien?
Judge. It's more like it's new to us. Okay,
it is not new to us. You know very well. Why do you think that she will change the position? She's also under somebody appoint to her.
But she came out and said if the president is to appoint someone, definitely the person has to be from a political party.
You see?
Preferably his party.
The person can't work with enemies.
Yes.
At least.
But the thing is that
I'm just saying.
But what I'm saying.
Can you prove the enemy?
Okay.
Explain to me. Who is enemy?
I'm saying.
Who is enemy?
You know, like. So one will say,
so you are telling us those who are not government appointees are enemy.
You see some, people saying the president has appointed, friends and families.
Master, don't say.
At least you should also appoint people who, believe in ideologies and philosophy.
Let me tell you. That is why even the independent prosecutor, Martin Amidu, cannot be neutral. I used to tell you because it is somebody who put him there. So if Supreme Court judges, somebody has done the research at Tuguba, and he arrived or he found that some decisions or rulings aligned to the appointing authority. So it comes back to tell us that Martin Amidou's exercise that he's going to do is a mere academic exercise. He will do it and come back to
the Chief Justice should know that the judiciary, no, Ghana, in fact, we are directing our agenda towards a pit hole. If there is a situation where a whole Chief Justice will come out as if the judiciary do not deserve to be criticized.
Okay.
You see, we should post that.
That's the poster.
That was the poster. Of course, that is the poster. It will come to it is a situation that we should allow free speech. It is a situation why we should allow free research. This is a situation why we should allow.
My mom has never supported me when I steal a pencil.
Freedom to express. Freedom to express yourself.
But okay,
are you citing my mom that if I do something?
That's an allegation.
Which of allegation?
So you think your mom will support the other person?
Hey, yes. That is how my mother treated me. I grew up when I did something wrong, my mother would support and bring me out and cane me before the public. I see. Yes. But this Sophia Akufu, I don't know what is worrying her. Is he a spokesperson for the judges or what?
She's a Chief Justice. And
so what?
It's a body she regulates. And Amuso is right, she spoke about it.
You see, we are not saying the judges are clean. They might favor a political party or this one or the other. But what I'm saying is that until we have the 100 cases he sampled, and then we'll also analyze and see what this is the case and this is the verdict. This person, okay, how does he even get to know that this judge who was appointed by this president is from his party?
It isn't about being in a political party. Appointing, the reason why he said NDC, meaning when a judge is being appointed under NDC, it is perceived that judge is an NDC. So that doesn't mean that the judge is an NDC. It is the basis of his research.
So look at this. I can also go and hit. You are talking about research. I can also go and hit Google and come out with something.
Until you have done that.
And I say we don't know. But what I'm saying is that before, no matter what he says, whether their decision aligns with a political party or not,
until you have done that,
it should have a constitutional precedent. It should have a place in the constitution.
Okay, George, just before you go, I'm very, very sad for Atuguba. I don't know whether he has a family clinic or hospital.
Oh, why?
Oh, there will be victimization. Atuguba will not, be a free-minded person again.
Oh, why?
Oh, yes. Oh, Ghana. I'm telling you.
Is there a precedence? Like, have you seen that?
Oh, yes. Yes. But maybe you ask for evidence.
Oh, I want to ask.
Yes.
It's TV.
Ghana, when you want to prove something, they will ask you for evidence.
Of course. When this national television.
Atuguba man, you will see, they'll be pointing fingers on him because he wants to tell us what is happening on the ground. Put our mouths to keep quiet and listen to the man until he finishes. But immediately the man starts, because it is hitting somebody, you see the woman, your mother.
Whose mother?
Well, my elder sister. She just comes out and then, oh yes, she came out.
But we can also accept the findings with open arms without
wholeheartedly.
Let me tell you, the Chief Justice must be the last person to speak on the issue.
Arm of government.
And I will know it's a lie.
No,
what is I?
She can't be the last.
Is it the spokesperson?
What is the one that mans the
what?
Judiciary?
So
really? No, she should be the last person to talk. If there is one arm of government trying to portray,
she should be the last person to talk.
Then it becomes very, very, very. What do you call it? It becomes very dangerous for the country.
But if I got a statement well, she didn't make it like.
Are we not in democracy?
She said he's bringing.
Somebody has just started his job, and you as a Chief Justice, you just come out. You want to shield the man.
George.
Are we not in democracy?
Leave them. They will talk and talk.
I have one more thing to say.
Has been on research
Chief
by
Justice
Professor
is alien to the work,
and the judges have reacted. Let's know what you should think. Log on to our social media platforms. On Facebook, it's News on TV3, and on Twitter, it's a News TV3. Our WhatsApp line 050-823-5228. Just keep us, engage us with your comments, read them, and share them with the rest of the world.
But I believe that.
Great. You stay there till now. Just past 7. Let's take a look at what's on the front pages. Daily Guy says they're not serious about corruption, says Rawlings. President wades into Togo crisis. The Heritage says angry traders threatened naked demo over destruction of 185 bags of salt by armed soldiers. The Daily Graphic, tax stamp still born? That's a question the graphic is asking. Beverage companies yet to install stamp fixing machines. And 51% Ghanaian ownership of ECG. It's a problem. That's a consortium talking there. And Kolebu pays 1.2 million electricity bill monthly. That's how much the facility pays every month. Quite worrying there. The Daily Statesman put it, the Togo story, put the people's interests first. The president in Togo there. The Today newspaper, food and water shortage loom in Guineso, #1, guess somewhere in the Ashanti region. The Ghanaian Times carries the Togo story. Togo crisis must end. President appeals to political leaders. And was told that Petroleum Commission takes measures to enforce local content in the upstream sector. The Ghana Palaver says, after frustrating lack of evidence, vindictive Akufo-Addo orders NDC witch hunt. That's on the front page of Ghana Palaver. And the Finder talks about affordable housing. My guest this morning is a member of the NDC's communication team, a legal practitioner, Mr. Abraham Amaliba. Good morning.
Good morning, Bright.
Hope you're doing great.
I'm very well.
Thanks so much for your time. We're expecting a rep from the NPP very soon. But let's start with the Finder this morning. On page 5 of the Finder, a story carried by TV3 also says that over 200 jobless nurses vow to sleep at the Health Ministry over delayed postings. The story says that at least 200 graduate nurses yesterday morning besieged the premises of the Ministry of Health to demand posting to work in health facilities across the country. The graduates said several appeals to the Ministry for Employment after they completed school in 2016 have not yielded results. Some of the nurses were in red and wielded placards with messages that urged government to immediately address their concerns. The aggrieved nurses say they are prepared to spend the night at the ministry if authorities fail to post them. The leader of the group, Samuel Asante, said they believe they are being treated unfairly by the ministry. And they said that they are not moving an inch. Now, according to them, they had a meeting with the Deputy Minister, Kingsley Abuaji-Jedu, and he tried to compare us with the private nurses, saying that since we are not bonded, we are not part of the posting, and the group said it didn't go down well with us, and that is why we are here this morning, or this afternoon, to seek immediate posting because they have released clearance, and it is supposed to be given to the 2012-2016 batch of nurses. So why is it that we who completed in the government training centers and we are being denied of posting now? And we're told by the story that last week another group of bonded unemployed nurses and midwives staged a protest at the health ministry to demand posting. They said they have been at home for the past 2 years after successfully leaving school and completing their mandatory national service. That's the story so far. Yesterday, we were told that the police actually moved them from the ministry where they said they were going to spend the night. Let me introduce my second guest. John Kuma is a member of the NPP's communication team. Is here with me. John, good morning.
Good morning.
Hope you're doing great.
I'm doing great.
He's also a legal practitioner. Thanks for your time with us. Let's start. Mr. Amaliba, let me begin with you this morning, whilst I allow Mr. Kuma to catch his breath. This nurses issue about clearance, about picketing and all that, we seem to not to be able to deal with it. Where do we go? We train the nurses, we cannot employ them. There were talks about taking the bond off them so that once they complete school, they can find their own job wherever they can. But we're back to them picketing and asking for jobs. How do we deal with it?
Okay, so let me start by saying good morning to your viewers. You see, this is a matter that rests squarely in the hands of the government. The government of the day, when they were campaigning, had made all manner of promises to these trainee nurses who are now nurses because they've completed. The promises were to the effect that they were going to be employed, they will provide them with employment, and that under the previous administration, we were insensitive, and that was why, or incompetent, they added, and that was why the problem persisted. Fast forward, today, they are in government. The government is finding it difficult to grapple with this problem. This is not the first time nurses or people in the health sector who have completed school have gone to picket. This is not the first time. Ever since this government came, it has been constant. Yesterday, around 7:30 p.m., I received a distress call from one of these nurses who were picketing at the ministry. And what did he tell me? That the government had sent the police to come and evict them from the ministries.
Because they were legally there.
Now, I found that as being callous. Being callous because the police and the government of the day knew very well these people were there since morning yesterday. Why didn't they go to evict them on those same basis that they were there illegally? 7 p.m., you evict them, where will they go and sleep? Some came from the upper west, the upper east. Where were they going to get vehicles and go back to those places, to where they came from? If you wanted to do that, what stopped the police to have taken preemptive action to ensure that the people left there much earlier in the day? So that if they are going to board vehicles and go back, they would have gone. I am told, when I got here this morning, that they all came and slept in your premises here. I want to thank you people for being humane.
We're not too sure if they actually slept here, but they were outside the premises.
Yes, as at 3 p.m. they were here. I want to thank your management for giving a human face to the whole situation, which the state, instead of protecting its citizens, drove them onto the street. But if you make such promises, there is what is called legitimate expectations. You heighten the expectations. And so when you now come 1 year down the line and you are reneging in your promise, they will do what they are doing. Under our regime, we said that we will expand health facilities because those health facilities are not going to be occupied by teachers. It will be nurses. We built them. Look at the health facility at Legon. Look at how this government is misbehaving towards that huge project. Some nurses could have been employed there. And so, I understand it is lack of funds that is making this thing to become a much difficult issue to deal with. I am told that clearance has been given to some of them, but this set of nurses, no clearance has been given to them. And they think that they've sat home for far too long. I think that I am not in government. They are in government. They should think beyond the box. This is a problem that you cannot think outside the box. Outside the box could just be close to the box, so you still be thinking the same. They should think outside, beyond the box, far away, and provide answers to it. The nurse, World Health Organization ratio of nurses to patients is too huge in this country. So are doctors. And we've not touched up on doctors. You know, some doctors, some 200 of them too, are sitting home. Is this not a crisis? Is that what the people voted for?
Mr. Kumba, this issue of nurses picketing, and it keeps recurring. How do we handle it?
Yes, let me greet our viewers and also greet my learned friend Maliba. listening to him, I wonder whether they were the people who just left government and created all this problem for us to handle. Because if you look at the nurses picketing, like he rightly said, it's because of the fact that they've stayed home for years. Some of them from 2013. They have since not been posted. And that, of course, is due to the incompetence of the previous NDC government. And clearly, this government has demonstrated readiness to post all these nurses. I think what is happening at the moment is a question of inadequate communication. Or let me say that government communication to these nurses have not been properly packaged. Because, come to think of it, if they have stayed home from 2013, and now there's clearance for some of them to go to work from 2013, 2014, 2015 to 2016, it means that government has demonstrated readiness and lots of effort to make sure that all these nurses go to work. I think the problem has been classes of nurses. Some are privately trained, some are government trained, and I think that is where the difficulty is coming from. And instead of the proper communication going to all of them, that maybe we are doing it in stages, and that even though you have stayed home for a while, once you know your friends are going, it will definitely be your turn, because we cannot handle all of it at a go. Obviously, we will have to spread it. So I think it's just a question of communication.
Is it a fact or you're assuming?
No, it's a fact of communication. Okay, so, I mean, I've listened to them. They are complaining.
It's a communication problem.
Yes.
It's not that there's no money to pay them. That's why.
No, but the money, even if there is money, you still have to structure it. And they are not saying that they are not being posted. If you listen to them, they said only a group of them are being posted. What happens to them? So it's a question of communication. Somebody is not speaking rightly to them. That government is responding since 2013. But now, instead of, maybe we are doing it in this stage and this stage, so this group will go first on this particular, all that they are asking the ministry to do is to tell them when is our turn. Basically, if you listen to the complaints, they agree that we all cannot go at a go. So when is our turn? And that is what is not coming, and they feel disappointed. They feel they've been left to be home without hope. And I think it's just a problem of communication. And I urge the Ministry of Health to respond on to be a little bit more sensitive to the concerns of these trained nurses. Because look, it is difficult that you've got all the training, you've got all the license, you've gone through all you have to go through, only to sit home with all your energies when you are ready to serve your nation. So clearly they have a good case. And government too has a good point. Government is not saying that we are not posting you. That is not what government is saying. In fact, even Amaliba admits that they are being posted. And the people demonstrating even say that, well, why are you posting only our friends and not telling us when it will be our turn? So it's just a question of communication. If somebody can be clear in his communication to the people that you are not being ignored and that just a matter of time, up to this period, your clearance will also come and you also be posted. Is it a question of communication?
Is it as simple as what you're saying?
Well, from so far what I've heard from them.
They were there in the morning till late in the evening. So
yes, but have you heard them?
Well, I have heard them.
What's their concern?
Their concerns, one of which is that another group is being posted.
That's it.
They have been.
That's it. Exactly. Behind. So it's a question of communication. So why not telling us when it's our turn?
You're suggesting that Mr. Robert Kujo at the Ministry of Health and his team are unable to tell the nurses that this is the problem, and so
I think so. They should be clearer in their communication, because myself sitting back and listening to the whole problem, I think it's a question of somebody not telling them. We also have friends among the nurses. Yesterday, some of them called me, and I asked them, so what's your real problem? They said, well, they are posting our friends who were trained privately, but those of us who were trained by government, we are home. We don't know when we are going to be posted. I said, is that the only problem? He said, yes. So it's just a question of communication. Somebody should tell them, or the ministry should tell them clearly that at this point, when we have done with all this group of nurses, it will now be your turn to be posted. And some of them as early as just those who just completed, those picketing. And previously, they have to stay home 3 to 4 years without even knowing when they will be posted. So this government has been responsive. We have been responding to the need to post all these doctors and nurses. And clearly, if you listen to the ministry, they are doing that. It is just a question of when will it be our turn. And I don't know why it's so difficult for the ministry to clarify this matter. You should clarify that with them and be a little bit sensitive. The fact that you are maybe doing your best in being proactive in addressing their concerns doesn't mean you should ignore the little issues they raise, because maybe to the ministry they see this to be no issue, but it is a big issue for the people who are picketing.
A deputy health minister, Mr. Kingsley Aboagye-Jedu, is said to have told the nurses that, well, once they are not bonded, they are not part of the posting.
You see the communication problem I'm talking about. So maybe what he's seeking to tell them is that they are not part of the current posting going on. Is the minister saying they are never going to be posted? No, he can't say that.
Well, that's what the nurses are saying.
Yes,
that he told them that once they are not bonded,
miscommunication. The people. So if somebody can be clear to the group of trained nurses that, look, you're definitely going to be posted, but by this period, because we have to finish with this group, then they'll be happy. They know it's a question of time. Let's wait till this period. It will be our turn. But somebody is clearly not telling them what they have to be told. And it's just a question of communication, because if you blame government, why do you blame government? The government policy is clear. Post these nurses. Clearance has been given. That's what they are looking for. But it's a question of, can you post all of them at the same time? Which clearly is not possible. So you have to do it in stages. Now the group that are not being posted are saying, when is our turn? And somebody can be clear to them that this is going to be your turn. This period will be your turn, and they'll be patient. Somebody's just clearly not being effective. So I see. It is just a question of communication. Let's be responsive and sensitive to the issues they are raising, and then let them understand that I believe that government is working on you. Look, those who are being posted, some as late as 2013, from the days of NDC government till now, they are posting all of them. So take your time. It will be your turn. You just finished maybe last year. And so we have to post those who finished earlier before you, like 2013, 14, 15, and even 16. So when we are done, it will then be your turn. And we believe that maybe by this period within the year, it will be your turn to be posted. Somebody can just communicate this to the people so that they are rest assured, because listening to them, they are not saying they are not being posted. They say their friends are being posted. What about them? Why is it so difficult to just respond to this clear issue from them? And I think we can have clarity.
If it is before I go to Mr. Amalba, if it's a matter of communication, then perhaps we erred by asking the police to go and drive them away from where they were. I mean, we just have sent people to go and speak to them.
Exactly. I mean, we should handle this better. It is wrong to send police 7 p.m. to drive out people who are demonstrating, whether, of course, you don't also want to be seen as government to be encouraging lawlessness, because there's a right way to demonstrate. You need to give the police clear notice of maybe 5 clear days before you start all these things. But, of course, even where they have not done the right thing, I mean, it will be insensitive in a democratic society like ours to send police 7 p.m. to drive them away. So some of these issues can be handled better. And I think we should deal with it better.
All right, grateful.
My friend here wants to hide behind the cloak of poor communication. He is at YEA. Nobody can profess.
Well, I'm not at YEA.
Where is he? Where? I don't even know where.
So you have to ask me. Don't just assume. Ask me, I'm here.
He's at where?
Ask me, I'm here.
That's what I'm asking. Where are you?
You are not asking me. Ask me.
Okay.
You can't even ask.
Youth what? Employment agency.
I'm not there.
Now,
please.
He is the head of that institution.
I am the CEO of National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Plan.
Okay.
NEP.
Okay. So you are the head of that institution.
Yes.
Nobody can profess to communicate better than you in that institution.
Why
so
not?
You cannot.
Why not?
Because you know the issues.
Oh no,
so,
not necessarily.
So you cannot.
Of course, there's an outfit for communication.
So you cannot
communicate better.
You cannot be sitting here professing to know that the Ministry of Health did not communicate well when the PRO indicated clearly that these are people who have not been bonded, so they will not be posted.
They will not be posted forever. Is that the communication? Please, don't misquote him.
I'm saying that.
I'm not sure that is what he has said. Is that what he said?
I'm saying that.
They are not bonded.
People who have not been bonded,
so they will never be
entitled to be posted. And
forever. Is that what he said?
And yesterday,
I doubt that. I'll be surprised.
The Deputy Minister of Health, Tina Mensah,
I also listened to her. She never
surprisingly told the reporter, the one interviewing her, that she's unaware that people were picketing at the ministry. And that came to me as a shock. That even if you are out of Accra and you are in Cape Coast, you will not be aware, nobody will tell you that there are nurses in your ministry picketing.
But before the news, before the news, nobody knew. So why are you surprised?
That people, they
didn't write to her, they did not communicate.
My submissions.
Right. John, you think she should have been aware? That's what you think?
This is how substandard members of the government behave. Look, substandard government, you are the one who saw the magnitude of the problem, and you went promising these people that you would post them when they come. When you come to power.
But of course we are posting them.
You've come to power, you are not posting them. There's a group that is picketing, and you are saying that it's a problem of communication. I think that the message is clear from the ministry that these are people who have not been bonded, and so they will not be posted. Contrast that with their promise when they were in opposition. They told the students, in fact, the MPP party was a toast on the campuses of the nursing training colleges. You all know that. Today,
we still are.
Today, you find them reneging on their promise.
We still are.
And these people have gone to ask for what you legitimately told them that you were going to post them. There is what is called, and I indicated that, legitimate expectation. And so you do not tell them in the face after you've won elections that they will not be posted because they are now, they've not been bonded. So I think that what Ghanaians should know is about the deception of this government. There are most of the things that they have promised the people of this country, not just these nurses, but in government, they have reneged. And that should not be how we should allow politicians to behave with our citizens. I think that the nurses should continue to picket. It is their right to do so. It is their right to demand from government to be posted, and I, on any day, will be behind them. And so I give them the encouragement to continue to do that until the government fulfills its promise of posting them.
Just 1 minute.
All right.
Just 1 minute.
John, go ahead.
Clearly, I'll be surprised that if Amaliba says the PRO of the Ministry of Health said that these people have been bonded, so they will never be posted. I mean, clearly, I'll be very surprised.
John, if you read the Finder story, it says that according to the nurses, we had a meeting with the Deputy Minister, Kingsley Abuajijidu, and he tried to compare us with the private nurses, saying that since we are not bonded, we are not part of the posting. That's according to the
So you see, it comes back to clearly what I was saying. How do you misinterpret this to say you never be posted?
Well,
no, how do you interpret this to say you will never be posted? So it's just a question of clarity. And I mean, let us not make mountains out of molehills. Clearly, there's an issue. And I think it's just a question of communication. So let's be patient. Let's allow the ministry to clarify this to them. And I think this issue, I mean, Amaliba, who caused them to sit home, his government, I mean, caused them to sit home from 2013. I mean, you took away even the allowances when they were in school. We have restored the allowances.
Have you paid them? When was the last time you paid them?
But even
look at another 419.
We have paid them.
When was the last time you paid them?
We have paid them. Go and ask them.
You are even asking them to refund some overpayment.
Go and ask them.
You are even asking them to
refund some overpayment. You have to refund.
Look at liars.
So clearly,
liars in government.
Whether we are liars or we are truthful, between the NDC and the NPP,
how did we come to this point?
This
why we allow liars to rule this country?
You said it's substandard to interfere. Why being substandard?
I think what you said is too strong.
those are my words. Everybody knows. You can constantly say that they are saying they want to pay
a substandard government lying to the people.
Well, it's not about shouting, Amali, but take your time. You have
a substandard government lying to the people.
So clearly, Ghanaians and especially these nurses know who is a liar, who took away their allowances and who restored it. They know who has let them sat home from 2013, who is posting them at the moment. So I will just speak to those who are picketing that yes, you may have concerns. I clearly believe this government will listen to your concerns, and so be patient about it and go about it the right way. I strongly believe that before close of day or very, very soon, this clarity will be there and they will be okay.
I'm grateful. The statesman says, House approves Amidu today for a position of special prosecutor. Daily Guide puts a story on its front page and says, not serious about corruption, says Rawlings. The statesman is suggesting that Ghanaians are waiting with bated breath in anticipation of the official launch of a house cleaning exercise targeted at retrieving all stolen cars by public officials and politicians during the previous administration. Information reaching the Daily Statesman indicates that the legislature is set to announce the approval of Mr. Martin Amidu today as special prosecutor in the Nana Akufo-Addo administration. The approval is expected to be unanimous, probably with the only person dissenting being the MP for Tamale North, Al-Hassan Suini, and former Deputy Minister of Justice and Attorney General Dominic Ayini, who rushed to court a few days to challenge the decision at the Supreme Court. That's the story. But the Daily Guide story talks about Mr. Rawlings in a meeting with the Japanese ambassador, suggesting that the special prosecutor is an indication that President Addo Akufo-Addo is serious about fighting corruption in the country. He said that in a meeting with the Japanese ambassador, Chutomi Humenu. He said the appointment of Amidu as special prosecutor from outside his own party shows the president is serious. It vindicates some of us, he said, whilst making a case for Japan's continuous assistance to Ghana. So that's the story. John, let me start with you, right? Does it seem as the journey to the fight against corruption just about to take off?
Yes, I mean, clearly it will be a refreshing news for Ghanaians if by close of today we hear that Parliament has given their approval to Mr. Martin Amidu, because Ghanaians are looking forward to some recoveries of corruption and mismanaged funds that have gone into private pockets, and we cannot afford to let them down. And I think that the appointment of Mr. Martin Amidu has sent a clear signal both to the previous officials of the previous government and the officials of this current administration that you cannot mismanage public funds and go scot-free. And of course, those who took state vehicles and state property in their personal possession as their personal possessions, I'm happy that all of them are now going to be chased after to return them. The idea, like Martin Amidu said, is not to populate Nsawam prison or any other prison with people, but at least to help recover some of these resources which are needed badly to develop the country. We need to cut down on corruption. And one of the best ways to reduce corruption is to send a strong signal both to government officials and to previous government officials that you cannot have a field day to waste public funds and go scot-free. And I believe that the appointment of Martin Amidu has sent that strong signal, even to his own party members who are crying more than even those of us in MPP who are supposed to be worried, because he is not of our stake. We know the background of Mr. Martin Amidu and the fact that he is a member of the NDC. He went as far as the running mate to the flag bearer of the NDC, and he's been a founding member, a long-serving Minister of State in the NDC government. So for him to be selected as the special prosecutor, it shows clearly that His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is not going to joke with issues of corruption, and that whoever messes up with public funds is going to be dealt with clearly. And today is going to be the beginning. Once the approval comes, then all the period of waiting, and I can tell you, a lot of people voted for the NPP government and Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo because they had hopes that corruption have to be dealt with, and have to be dealt with decisively, because the amount of waste and mismanagement of public resources go a long way to affect the availability of funds to carry out social interventions and social programs. So clearly, I am happy about it, and I know that eventually, if the members of parliament give him the needed approval, I'm told that already the committee has unanimously, except by 1 or 2, given their approval. So it was just going to be a mere procedure for the whole House to also affirm the approval. And once that is given, I think it will be the beginning of how the expectations that not just Ghanaians, but because even His Excellency President Rawlings spoke in the presence of the Japan ambassador, which means that the whole world is following the appointment of Martin Amidu and how it's going to impact on the direction of the nation as far as the fight against corruption is concerned. But let us all remember that Martin Amidu is just one person. And the institution of corruption is so entrenched in our day-to-day life in this country that you cannot have only one man uprooting this canker called corruption in this country. We must all help him. He will need our support, everybody. As a Ghanaian, if you truly are concerned about how we deal with corruption in this country, especially the media, you should give Martin Amidu the needed support, because clearly there will also be various interest groups who are going to fight him. Because when you want to chase after mafias and cartels and economic saboteurs, they will come after you. And some will come with all kinds of trappings and allegations. So we should be able to give him the firm needed support that is required to make him succeed. Because as an individual, what can he do? And of course, he's not going to work alone. We are aware there's a board he's going to work with. But if we don't cooperate, just like policing in any society, if the community people don't support the police, there's a extent to what they can do. It's the same work that Martin Amidu is going to do. And I pray that as a people, we give him the prayers and the needed support, the necessary documents, the availability of evidence. We should be bold to supply him with all the data and be willing to testify in some cases where possible, so that he will be able to chase after all these people and recover some, because obviously we will not be able to recover all. But at least it must be clear, it must be seen by everybody that attempts are being made, recoveries are being made, and the signals are being sent to people that you mess up with public funds, this will be the consequences. When we are able to do that, then I believe that very soon we'll begin to see changes in attitude towards corruption and how people take public office. And I think that it will be good and better for the country if we all are able to do that.
I'm grateful. John Kuma is a member of the NPP's communication. Mr. Ahmad, but so it's a mere formality in Parliament. That's the assumption.
Oh yeah. Apart from Suihini, who openly made a point that he voted against Martin Amidu because even though he's qualified, but from what he gleaned from the vetting, he lacked the temperament to occupy that office. There's also the case of, apart from him, there's also the case of Dr. Dominic Ayina, who I know, when the matter comes to the whole House, will not vote because of the case that he has filed at the Supreme Court. Apart from the two, clearly he will be given the nod. But the NDC is not afraid of Martin Amidu. It is within the right of the NDC to question certain statements made by Martin Amido before the 2016 election. And if he's occupying that position, it is within the right of NDC members to ask him to explain or clarify or give evidence to support those claims he made. It's within the right of the NDC to do so. And we did that. That is not to say that we are afraid of Martin Amido. Martin Amido is not going to be a judge, for God's sake. And indeed, he is a lawyer. The standard of proof, the threshold for proving people guilty in this country will not be lowered because it's Martin Amido who is prosecuting. The same standard that the policeman, if prosecuting an offense in court, would have to adduce or would have to rise to meet, is the same standard that Martin Amido would. So nobody is afraid of Martin Amido. In any case, when it came to the crunch to look for one person who has the credibility to occupy that office, they couldn't find one in the MPP. That huge, humongous party, looking for one person, credible person, to occupy that office, they couldn't find. They had to cross rivers, crocodile-infested rivers, to the NDC and get a credible person. We gave birth to Martin Amido. We made Martin Amido what he is through our probity and accountability principles. He bought into it. So we have given them a credible person. So we are not worried. Once he himself, Martin Amido, said the sword would cut him both ways, there's no problem. It is too early to say that Nana is serious about corruption. It's too early. Because suppose if Martin Amido is approved and the president doesn't change his attitude, his behavior towards the way he comments about ministers, his ministers who are before committees investigating them. If he doesn't change that behavior, he's a lawyer. But sometimes he behaves in ways that we begin to question. If your appointees are before a committee, rightly put together, you don't make prejudicial comments. You don't make comments that will prejudice the work of the committee. This president is on record to have been doing those things. So if Martin Amido is also seized with the authority to investigate and prosecute, and you have behind him a president who will be piecing in with those type of comments and making those comments about whether his appointee who is before the committee is guilty or not, it will affect the work of Martin Amido. And so it is too early. Let him get a nod. But don't also forget, Bride, that there's a bigger hurdle for Martin Amido.
What is that?
That is a Supreme Court case. And so he may go through today, but we need to still wait for the outcome of the Supreme Court ruling. That, for me, is more important than what, because the Supreme Court ruling can undo all what Parliament has done, and we'll get back to square one. So, yes, today he's going through. I think that when he goes through, the next stage is the Supreme Court ruling that we are all awaiting. Besides that, nobody, and that's why the minority did not walk out on him. That's why the minority approved of him, except Suyeni, who disapproved of him based on principle and agree with him. That's why he thinks and he's entitled to it. The fight against corruption is one that is accepted by all, including the minority. And that's how come they stayed behind. Even though they had misgivings about some of his utterances, they used the platform to quiz him on those things, but did not stage a walkout, did not boycott, which is within their right. So the fight is something that we all agree to, and we think that the man must be given a clean hand, free hand. If Martin Amido, for God's sake, is going after Ken Oforata, let no chief call the president, and the president call Martin Amido to intervene. Just as how, if Martin Amido is going for after the Upper West Regional Minister who has no clout in MPP. Anybody who has a clout in MPP and Martin Amidu is going after that person, let the president not interfere because he has a history of interfering.
1 minute.
Okay, John. When you come, I also come.
Just on 2 points.
When you come,
First of all, the president has not been commenting on issues before committees.
Can you imagine?
John, can we?
No.
If we,
he's making a serious allegation that we have to.
The president is reported to have said when the Cash for Seed committee was sitting.
He knows it.
And so I would rather wish that.
No. President never commented on Cash for Seed Parliament committee.
I'm sure by now
President invited. No, but why are you?
Okay,
you said it's substandard to behave like
this. So please allow him.
Comport yourself. You have already defined his behavior.
Everybody knows it's
President
notoriously
invited.
true.
Why won't you comport yourself?
Okay, yes.
President invited the Minister of Trade and had an engagement with him. And he had a duty to inform the public that after his engagement, he found nothing. That is what the president said. It was after.
So for you,
after.
You think there's nothing wrong with the president making that statement when the committee...
Which committee? The committee was formed after, the parliamentary committee was formed after the president's comment. So please, don't get this wrong. Go and check the sequence. The president invited the minister. After he engaged him, he realized that there was nothing in there. They issued a statement. Then one of his public engagements, he talked about it. It was after that commentary that Parliament NDC petitioned the Speaker to set up another committee to look into it. It's got nothing to do with the president.
Very sure about that?
I am very sure about it. You can also check
the
sequence.
Committee was not being put together?
No.
Okay.
At the time the president made the comment, there was no parliamentary committee.
When he met the press and made a comment?
Yes, check. You check.
The Parliament had not agreed to put together a committee?
No. Check. Okay. They were even on recess when they were recalled to come and put the committee together. So go and check. Secondly, he spoke about the one against Asenso and Abu Jinapo. I mean, clearly the police had finished their investigations and found nothing.
Okay.
And he spoke about that one too. So let it not be like president comments on issues before committee. It is not true. It is unfair for you to make these comments about the president. Secondly, he said that we went into the NDC to find a credible person. That's correct. But it is not because we don't have credible people in NPP. We could have found it anywhere. And in this country, let me tell Amaliba, the fact that eventually we settled on Martin Amidu doesn't mean that he's the only qualified person. We have 1,001 people who can perform that role.
The man says he's qualified.
Yes, he's qualified. We are not saying he's not qualified, but he's not the only qualified person. And in the NPP, we have so many qualified persons. But even with their own qualified person, look at the attitude. So if you had picked somebody from the NPP, then I don't know what they would have said. So it is strategic, and I think the decision of the president is being applauded by both ends. He should not misinterpret it to say that it is the NDC that was able to produce the only credible person in this country. Martin Amidu is not the only fighter against corruption in this country. There are a number of them. And he's not the only person with credibility or knowledge to handle the office. 1,001 people are ready today to replace him, to do the same work even more effectively and efficiently. So let us not do politics with why Martin Amidu was selected from NDC. It is to make the whole nation understand that the question of corruption fight is not a matter of party colors. Whoever is deemed to qualify must be supported to do the work.
But right, it is notoriously known that while the committee was sitting, not when he did it.
Well, no, that's not a fact.
John is suggesting
that is not a fact. Who made that notoriously?
I wish we would not
talk. Go and check. No,
you are finished. You are finished.
Go and check.
You are finished.
I am.
You are finished. You cannot do buga buga for me not to say this.
But who is buga buga than you on this platform?
Now, it is a notorious fact that while the committee was sitting, when the president met the press to talk about his, is it 1 year?
The 1 year.
He made comments regarding the appointees, his minister of trade. That had an effect on the committee's work. Secondly, while there was a committee put together by the Minister for Energy
right,
to deal with boss matters, this same president zoomed on the committee's work and made comments that also had an effect on the outcome of the committee. So the president is notorious for that. But I'm saying that let's draw a line. There's a red line. There's a touch line. Let's not cross the line again, Mr. President. This time around, leave Martin Amidu. When he's going after your cousin, please, shut up. Let Matamiru do his work. And let us see how he can fight corruption. But don't be interfering into the work of the state institutions. That's wrong.
I'm grateful. Let's wrap up. We have just about 2 minutes to deal with this. Togo crisis, the president has just stepped in, is appealing to political leaders in Togo to compromise and come to an end that will not see the country run into trouble. And the Times has it on page 16 that the president has appealed to the Togolese government and leaders of the opposition to be guided by the interests of the Togolese people as they find a lasting solution to the ongoing political crisis in the country. John, briefly on this one. Yes. Neighbors, and we simply can't sit down and look while things are going back. Right.
Exactly. I'm very happy. I mean, Ghana as a country has always shown leadership when it comes to the African continent. And most importantly, I mean, if you check, almost all our presidents have one point or the other intervened in other countries whenever they have problems. I remember when Ebola came, President Mahama was one of the first presidents to visit Liberia. Was it Liberia or Sierra Leone?
Liberia.
Yes, to support them. So, I mean, what is going on in Togo is very troubling. And the way we are so close to Togo, I mean, we are like brothers and sisters. We cannot sit down for this potential conflict to spill over. And of course, we will have to bear the consequences. So I'm very happy that President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has taken the initiative to reach out to both the government and opposition. And he's pleading with them to let the interests of the people be their ultimate consideration in all that they are doing. Clearly, this goes to further add to the glories of Ghana as a proactive nation that cares about its neighbors, and that we are always prepared to intervene at any point to ensure that there is peace in our neighboring countries. Of course, Ghana was the first country to push for African unity. And so that burden of our forebears to lead in Africa has always been part of our leadership. And I'm very happy that President Nana Addo is continuing. I hope and pray that the leaders will listen to him in good faith and place the place the welfare of the people, the ordinary people in Togo who have to be running away whenever there's conflict as the central focus in all decisions that they make. I wish the president well, and I wish the people well, that they succeed in resolving this problem amicably.
But if Togo is in flames, of course, the refugees will first of all be looking at Ghana. So it is good that our president is there to try and broker peace.
Well, good neighborliness is what the doctrine is. If your neighbor's house is on fire, you would want to help to put it off. And that's what Ghana is noted for all over the years. So there's no problem having our president going to Togo to try to broker peace. But I just heard my brother say we and Togo are brothers. I thought they said the Togolese, those from Volta region are Togolese, and that they are not part of Ghana. But you see, in our attempt to try to resolve the matter in Togo, it is important that as a country, we ensure that there's a level playing ground. I know the ECOWAS protocol talks about the fact that there should be credible elections in the sub-region, member states. It also talks about the fact that if you are going to take power, you must take it through democratic means. And so coup d'etats are not allowed. But if coup d'etats are not allowed, let's ensure that the internal processes leading up to the election of a person as president are fair to all, both the opposition and the government of the day. What I don't like to hear is that I hear most Togolese, those demonstrators saying that they are tired with a father and son, a dynasty sort of thing. I don't think that for me is enough. It's not about you being tired. It's about you putting out a manifesto and then the people will vote for you. And in so doing, I'm not oblivious of the fact that some of the rules, and that's why I talked about the rules for the elections, some of the rules may be skewed in favor of 4. So first and foremost, let's deal with the rules. If the people of Togo still want 4 in Yasigbe, that should be it. You can't say that you are tired about somebody. It is about the democratic process. So if we go to the polls, haven't had all the electoral processes ironed out, and he still wins, you have no business saying that you are tired. You can't be tired based on that. So the opposition in Togo should be talking about electoral reforms that will ensure that there's a level playing ground. From there, they can spring to become the ruling government, but not to say they are tired. And I think that is where our president should be looking at. How do we reform the electoral processes to make it fair to all persons?
Well, just a little comment. Okay. First of all, Maliba will never cease to do propaganda. The NPP has never said that voter region is Togo. And if they create their own lies and believe in their own propaganda, they should not put on the NPP. Who said that in NPP? We never stated that. But it doesn't mean that if you are Togolese and Ghana is running their elections, you come and vote. If you are brother and sister, it doesn't mean I can go and vote in Togo. Let's respect the laws of each sovereign country.
I'm grateful. John Kuma is the Chief Executive Officer of the National...
After him. The vehicles that he single-handedly procured. Martin Amidu is his company, his organization.
Why?
Which organization?
No, that's one of the areas that Martin Amidu should put his searchlight.
What have you procured?
The vehicles.
Which vehicles?
Oh, you know it.
Oh, is it?
John, have you procured it?
Yes.
I don't know what
vehicles. You didn't hear the brouhaha about the procurement of some vehicles.
For where? Martin Amidu said I'm at YE. So you don't even know my office. You have made procurement.
It tells you that.
All right, gentlemen, I'm grateful.
It tells you I'm not interested in where you are.
So you're interested in your own life.
It tells you that where you are is insignificant.
I am grateful, gentlemen. John Kuma is the Chief Executive Officer of the National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Plan and a legal practitioner, member of the NPP. Mr. Brahma Maliba is also a legal practitioner, member of the NDC. Thanks so much for your Tuesday morning. You sent in comments. We'll read them in the course of the show. Stay with us.
4 years down the line, we are still celebrating ace investigative journalist. Of course, we're not just talking about him, but they're doing some fundamental things to keep his memory alive and keep his legacy going. I'm talking about Komla Dumont. But speaking to this issue, I have Dr. Koshi Dumont, who happens to be his brother. He's a physician at the University of Missouri, and also Mr. Ben Doche Malo. He's the chief editor, UN News in New York. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
How are we all doing?
Wonderful. I think we are doing fine with Dr. Nanam.
Great. So let's get talking. Of course, it's been 4 years. I'll start with you, Koshi, because you were a brother to him and you have lost a very dear one. But 4 years down the line, how's the family holding up?
Well, we're holding up. We're doing the best we can. I always say every family, if they're lucky enough, would have one Komla Dumont. He's obviously irreplaceable, but his loss has caused us to bind together as a family, and we're trying to do what we can to make sure that his legacy is remembered and what he stood for remains.
Right. So let's talk about the foundation now. What exactly is the foundation set up for? What does it plan to achieve?
Because she can add a bit more, but it's this whole thing to keep not just his memory for the sake of it, but the values he stood for. Personally, for me, as someone who's been a journalist, the values of excellence. But even going beyond journalism, persevering against the odds. You can be local in Ghana, but have a global perspective that cannot be ignored. Komla exemplified that from GBC, being on a motor scooter here in Accra, going to Joy FM, excelling, pushing himself constantly, pushing everybody around him to say, we can do better. It's an attitude that transcends Komla as a person. It's an attitude that goes into all the professions, pushing for excellence all the time. And that is how he ended up at the BBC. And that excellence took him to the top there as well, but the foundation.
I would first like to just add to what Mr. Mala said about excellence and the fact that wherever you are, you can practice excellence. And people often would see Komla at the BBC and assume that it was at the BBC that he began to exhibit these skills. But everybody who knew him right from the time he started in the field of journalism, which he said he himself stumbled upon by accident, everybody who saw him knew that he put his efforts into his work. He made sure that his facts were straight. He made sure that he put in the time. He would often tell me that every hour you see me on the screen, I'm sure you would know this, I've spent 4 hours preparing for that one hour. So that dedication to excellence is something which he really stood for. Now, with regards to the foundation, Komla's, one of his other sayings, he had a lot of sayings, was that the ideas have to be bigger than the man. So even in his absence, what he stood for, the excellence, the Pan-Africanism, the democratic dispensation, all of those things are things which all of us have a role in forwarding. Even if that one individual isn't there, you should have the feeling that whatever we're fighting for is worth fighting for. And that's what the foundation is really there for, to further those ideals. There's one of the flagship pieces of the foundation is the Institutes of Journalism, which is going to aim to train Ghanaians and people all across the African continent in the ethics, the skills, the trade craft of journalism. And I couldn't have a better person to interview me than a fellow physician who did not start off as a journalist. But that's the beauty of that profession, the fact that you can come from whatever field you are in. If you have the passion, if you have the drive, if you have the willingness to learn the skills, you can make an impact.
Certainly. But looking at it, the institute, how do you access it, the foundation, if I want to be part of it?
So I'm very happy. We have received a lot of support from Ghanaians. Ghanaians have been amazing. Ghanaians, I think, knew that Komla was theirs. And that's the reason why we've had so much, both corporate and from the ordinary people on the street. Just as Komla was so loved by people on the street. Uncle Ben has an interesting story, but he won't tell it. He won't tell it today.
He'll save it for later.
He'll save it for later.
No, now you prompted me. I'm going to jump in.
You're going to jump in.
I was in New York. My mentor from the BBC, Neil Kerry, was there. And it so happened Komla was there. So the three of us went to have a meal. We were returning to our car. He has his loud voice. I had my loud voice. Neil Kerry, who mentored me, loud. And we were getting into the car. Across the street from us was a black guy looking like he was studying notes for an exam. And then the guy listened, and we saw he was looking. Like he said, "You are Joy. You are Joy." And he was looking at Komla. He couldn't remember Komla's name. In New York, in the middle of New York, all he could relate in that moment was, here was the guy he knew to be on Joy FM. He was here. He told us he was studying for his exams. He was going to work as a car park attendant. And he started screaming at Komla. And Neil Kerry and I were looking at, I mean, to have Komla recognized on the streets of New York, and the guy saying that memory stays with us. But that's how Komla was. Eventually the guy said, "Look, my wife and children are in Kukumemle. When you go back, play a song for them." And that was how Komla was, again, as a connector. One other quality about Komla was, some of us stay in certain narrow jackets. Komla, through him, I got to meet people I normally wouldn't meet. And he would connect. And across Africa, I meet people in New York, and they want to tell me about Komla. And so he was bigger in that sense. And the foundation would be able to showcase some of those things that he lived for. He wanted Africa to be bright. He wanted Africa's good stories to be told. And those are some of the things. And in the events for Wednesday and Thursday, we will be able to
tell us about the events as well.
So tomorrow we have a public lecture. We have leading investigative journalists. He's actually a professor at the University of Missouri, which is the oldest journalism school in the world, Professor Mark Corvitz, who is coming in at 5 p.m. tomorrow at the British Council Hall. He'll be giving a lecture on investigative journalism, governance, and the fight against corruption, which is obviously a very topical
Certainly
thing
is.
right now. Then the following day, we'll also have a panel discussion. That's a closed discussion, and we'll have some very, very talented people. I think probably the best people we could assemble to discuss the issues around that same topic.
Professor Kwame Kekari,
Professor Atuayi.
Yeah, Atuayi, and then Kwekuze Chiado, Ms. Elizabeth Ohini.
Okay.
And I will have the honor of moderating that session on investigative journalism, governance, and the fight against corruption, the connection point. Again, for me, for Kamla's point of view, if he were here, it's all about helping people to do the right thing. How can Ghanaians support investigative journalists who are out to do the right thing, who will not be bought, who will not be given some brown envelope? So what needs to be done for millions of Ghanaians to benefit, the truth will not come out. We need to encourage and support any sister, any brother who is trying to say, let the right thing come out. Let's deal with it.
Right. Yeah. So just to hash again, on the tomorrow and Thursday, is it 5 p.m. for both?
No, the events for tomorrow is from 5 p.m. at the British Council.
The public is invited.
And the public is invited.
At the British Council.
Yes.
Is it free? Obviously,
it's free. It's free.
And then Thursday, however, is closed, and so just
just so ideas are collected for the purpose of impacting policy and moving things forward. And if I could add, maybe as an ex-BBC worker, the BBC also chose to be here this Friday. And they are going to do the annual Komla Dumont Award presentation on Friday morning here in Accra as well. And I must give a shout out to Professor Ernest Dumont, who has been at the center of organizing all these things. He's here in the studio.
Who has promised to give me an exclusive interview sometime later. But guys, I have been speaking to Dr. Koshi Dumont. He's a physician at the University of Missouri and also the brother of the late Komla Dumont, and also Mr. Ben Doche Malo. He's the chief editor, UN News New York. I'm sure you heard how to keep Komla Dumont's legacy alive. Certainly you want to join them tomorrow at British Council from 5 p.m. to hear that connection between fighting corruption, investigative journalism, and governance. Of course, it's a topical issue in Ghana. You should be interested. Let's go out there and support them. But we have more here on New Day for you. Stay with us.
I think it's possible.
Yeah,
if you're interested, right?
Yeah. If you're in India, you can do that. But in Ghana, that's not our culture.
Oh, but
there's always a way around.
We are crossing cultures.
No, but
it is good to work through the value.
Yeah. So I can ask a beautiful lady to come and see my mother, for example.
But happy birthday to Mrs. Patience Hodo as well. Happy birthday to you, great woman. But we have an interview.
So, Noella Oyala is the pride of the North. She's a musical goddess. Age has been catching up with her. Enjoy.
Twenty 2017 was a very interesting year for you. Can you just take me through how the year started and how it ended for you, all the highs and the lows?
Well, it started on a big note for me. I got gigs already booked. Even in 2015, my booking started earlier last year. And by the third month, I was already going out there to perform. But before that, I had private gigs. And later, I joined the girl band in Europe. We went around the whole of Europe. And it was just amazing. I sang all my songs, both Sisali, Wali, Dagare. And the shows were just everywhere. So I also traveled. I saw a lot of different places, different things. I learned new music. My new album, you will definitely hear some new style that I have decided to add. The ones I learned from my other musician friends, the all-female band. The highest for me, the first one was the Wiala Street. I was named after in my town, so I went home to check it out. It was amazing. The reception was great, and for me, I would say maybe until I get some other award, but I think it will always be my #1 because it's not easy to get your name on the pole, standing there all proud and and my people showing appreciation what I do, they acknowledge, and I should remember that they know and they are supporting me. Then the second one was the first time to perform in front of almost 70,000 people, just singing Sesali, and they didn't care what the language. It's just music, and when it hits you, you feel no pain. So a lot has happened, but I'll say these are the ones that stood out for me.
You mentioned singing to 70,000 people in Sisala. How do you craft your act before you go on stage so that even when people don't understand the language, they can enjoy the music?
I think I put myself in the performance. I'm always excited to get on stage, so I'm happy when I get on stage. I just sing my heart out. Sometimes when I sing, people feel a bit emotional because I myself, I get on the stage and I give my all. And at that moment, every time I get on the stage, it's like, this is what I was born to do. From childhood, I've been performing and I just want to make everybody happy, smiling. So I think I transfer this good vibe, good energy to the people, and they in return, they give it back. So I'm just myself. I go on stage. I don't really rehearse before. What actually happens to me before I get on stage, let's say 2 minutes, 5 minutes, I have to go to the loo, but nothing, and it's just the excitement and the anxiety. But once I get on stage, I'm happy. So I think it's happiness and nothing else really. Sometimes people think maybe I have taken something to energize. No, it's just excitement and the fact that I'm happy doing what I'm doing. So that's the craft. Just go on the stage, be happy, and be you, be real. Let the real you show through the music. And I mean every word I sing on stage, emotionally, whether it's a joke, whether it's, everything is real.
Has there been ever a time where you've fallen flat and you've sounded flat on stage, whereby probably when you came off stage you were like, oh, I wish I could have done better with this performance?
I don't think so. I'm not saying that for camera, but I don't think so. I have never disappointed any crowd. I have never gone flat, or it's for me, like privately, every time I finish performing, I'll go to my manager. How was it? Meanwhile, people are like, wow. And I'm still like, no, that wasn't my best. So it's like even my best, I still feel, oh, I've not done enough. I'm always trying to do more. And sometimes my manager will tell me, it's okay. Relax. You did marvelous. And people come, you are signing autographs and all. But still, I just still want to do it more. But I don't think I've ever experienced. I don't want to experience that. Maybe I'm yet to. But there's no stage I've gone on and people go like, blah. No, it's the other way around. We want more. We want more. We yalla. We yalla. Then it's like, okay, if you want her to come back, make some no. And then go like, whoa. And I go like, yeah. So I get back on the stage.
Village sex. Village sex.
Just say village lobby. If the sex word is too heavy for your mouth. lobby.
I watched the video. Now, the whole idea when someone hears village sex, well, what comes to mind is, you are picturing some kind of raunchy video. They will watch the video and it's simple and it's straight to the point and it's beautifully crafted. Can you just tell me what went from the writing stage to the shooting the video?
Well, first of all, the song Village Sex, that's not the original title because it's a traditional song I arranged. My father loved this song when I was writing the song, I asked him, and I was singing it wrongly, and he said, no, this is how you sing it. It's a sexy village song in Fonsi that we sing at the bachelorette party before the woman gets married. And it's also to encourage young men to marry the girl instead of always going to be doing lungu lungu. So that's the meaning of the song. But of course, we are musicians. You have to put a bit of excitement. And the reason why I chose village sex is because we Ghanaians, we don't like to say that word. Even you see, it's very hard. And we don't talk about sex. And the young ones, they will learn. The internet is there. They'll go and learn about it in a bad way. So why don't we talk about it? It's beautiful. It's something that God has given us. We all came through sex. We will tell you what sex is all about. But take your time at the right time. You see, at the end of the video, the boys are making fun of, oh, you want to marry? Now that, you know. So that's the meaning of the song. And this song, you can sing it anywhere. You can sing it in front of the chiefs, everybody. It is a romantic song that we sing in the village.
So in your home region, I know you have a huge fan base. You even got a street named after you. But let's talk about the whole of Ghana. What has the reception been like for Wiyala?
Well, for Ghana, I'm a bit confused because the type of music I do is not hyped like the way the pa things, you know. So it's a bit difficult to tell, but I know, and I know I have a lot of following. The group or the caliber of people in Ghana that listen to my music knows what's up. The young ones all listen, but it's not the everyday yo-yo. I've been in the industry for 6 years. I'll say 2 years. From the 6 years, I think it's last year and this year, people are now beginning to pick up. And they're actually listening to the songs more. And they are taking their time to listen to the meaning. Because the kind of songs I do, if you don't take your time and listen, and you are thinking it's just going to be the yo, 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 you won't get the meaning. But with time, people get used to the songs. And when they get used to the songs will be there for a long, long time. I don't want to just release a song. Next week, it has disappeared. I don't do junk music.
But you think award shows, for instance, the Ghana Music Awards, they've been fair to Wiyala?
I vow not to talk about the industry. But I'll be a hypocrite if I say I don't have feelings or I don't have anything to say. Or I am a musician, and when you're a musician, you're asked someone. To be very honest, well, I'll say I don't know whether they are being fair or not. They know what they are doing. They are doing great. But I don't think there's space for what I do in the awards or whatever that goes on. In a lot of the award schemes and all that. There's no room for me, really. King Aisoba, Atongo Zimba, Sherifa Gunu and all. And certain musicians even in the south here. We those that we do the art for art. It looks like we are the one being ignored. Like, because we don't go around to show our big cars and hold our things and shake them and show our gold teeth and all that, insult people. No, you know, negativity sells. Or bad news sells more than anything. So we are just put on the side. We know, we are aware. But I'd rather be in that lane than to put my quality where junk is being worshipped. In every industry, you need junk music and all that. Yes, there's space for everybody. But where it's being worshipped and quality is suppressed, you have to advise yourself and focus elsewhere where you are appreciated. I just have to say the VGMA, they are doing a great job. They know what's best. Good luck to all the competitors this year. I don't need to win Artist of the Year to be good. I know I'm good. I'm not bragging. When you're good, you know you're good. And is Artist of the Year bigger than a street name? That's the award that can never be transferred to another person. And things like this don't come easy. Elsewhere, people have their names on the floor. Mine is standing there, proud and all that. So I should appreciate that. That's the biggest award, and it's bigger than Artist of the Year and all that. So let the others compete. I have won a Female Vocalist of the Year during VGMA's last 2 years, and then Songwriter. which also says, yeah, they acknowledge that you are a good singer, you can write good songs, but you're not just good enough to take the overall. So I'm going to find my level somewhere. That's it.
Well, how's 2018 looking like for you?
2018 is great. My shows is packed all over the place. I will be performing at this year's Commonwealth Games and in Australia, and I might just be touring with Reggie and Boli. And I'm also working on a lot of projects in the north with the young kids, especially the youth. We are putting something together for ourselves. If you are youth and you are all negative, fighting and all that, I don't want to know. We have to move forward. You know, problems will come, frustrations will come and all that, but you have to always look at the bright side. So I'm doing projects there, and then I'm also working with UNICEF to stop child abuse. Let's be fair, working with the young girls to keep them active, and then be very confident and go out there and do it.
When are we expecting a new album from you?
This year is coming, and it's coming big. In fact, there might just be 2 albums, because I've written songs in English and I've also written some in my local dialect, and the sound are a bit different, so I think I have to separate the English ones from the traditional ones. So I might just have an EP and then the album itself, and I'll launch both in North Accra and then in Europe. Yes, so this year I'm just going out there to roar. The lioness of Africa is going to roar. I need a man to rock my body, a big strong man to rock my body.
Yeah, some years back it was the young lioness. Right now you are the lioness.
No, I'm not young anymore. I'm not young. Oh, those days when I used to be a virgin, Ajay! No.
Wait, so what happened? The village sex happened?
Oh, no. Village sex was about to, but I prefer, no, I have to marry first. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but I'm dating.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Okay, can you give us who this man is?
But it's you. He has that thing and I want to grind. Yo, I want to crush his body. He's the one.
No, but we decided that we're not gonna. There's someone else. When we met, you told me there's someone else.
I told you to bring the ring. You were giving me. You said you wanted to go. I said no, don't.
But there's someone else.
Oh no, well that one I'm not gonna talk about it. The virgin thing, no. People like to talk about funny little things, so I keep giving you funny things. Let's keep talking about it. When I marry and I'm ready to tell the world, I'll let them know. Until then, my private life is my private life. My sex life is my sex life. Whatever it is, my business.
The village sex. I keep going back to village sex. Because you watched the video that I watched, didn't you?
Yeah, I know body no be firewood. Body no be fire. Once in a while, you need to check that pressure. But I say, my private life, I won't tell anybody. Hey, before I realize they've tweet everything around.
Oh, but this is an interview.
I cannot get ring. I always tell the guy, until you put a ring on it, I'm as available as possible. Very single and ready to mingle. So, if you want to marry me, give me the ring. Then I'll make the whole world know that, yeah.
And I can't believe that Anthony Jackson took his crush out there onto live television. But that's the excitement of morning TV. Yep. You get all the niceties in there. Did we ever say she's a utility player available? So she's single and ready to mingle. She's not single and gnashing. Yep. She's not single and confused. Yep. Single and roaming.
It's not complicated.
Okay.
It's just plain and simple.
What is with that complicated
I have no idea. I've never had to put it as a status, so I have no clue what goes into it.
But why do people say they're in a complicated relationship?
I'm sure it must be complicated.
So the one that is hanging and sitting at the same time.
Yes, it's complicated.
Yes.
So he has like 3 or 4 people. He doesn't know who.
The guy is not a serious guy, but once in a while he comes home and pretends to be that good, and the lady is convinced that this is a great guy. Okay. Then the next moment the guy is off again.
So that's the complicated. Okay.
Is that all it is?
So the lady is unable to make a firm commitment. Okay. She cannot say that I have bride, but she can't get away from bride. So anytime there's an
But how did you come to know all these things? You read about it.
Either he's been in a complicated
when we do
relationship.
witch hunting, all these issues come about, and so we're able to.
Guide always gets away with his witch hunting excuse.
Tuesday,
it is what it is.
And thank you very much for watching the show. We'll be back Wednesday midweek edition.
Johnny, but just before you wrap up, Felix Della Kluche, you are the business editor of Business Day newspaper. You're also a pastor at the Pentecost Church at the Blogono district. Happy birthday. This is from Elvis Darko, the editor of The Finder.
Absolutely.
So Felix Della Kluche, editor of Business Day, and also a pastor at the Church of Pentecost at the Blogono district in Swan.
Right.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, and deepest condolence to the Obeng brothers, Alfred.
The Obeng brothers,
yes,
they know
Obeng
themselves.
brothers,
Anyways,
Alfred.
guys, have a blessed day.
Why are the names not coming to me? Alfred, Papa, and Nat.
And
yes.
Nat, okay.
Yes.
Alfred, Papa.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Yep.
Right.